Senator Maina, you were the Secretary General of UDA when you went to the election. Well, not anymore, but you are nominated senator. What is this? What are you dealing with?
I will say that, just like my colleague has said,
Yep.
Senator Onyonka, at this point, we don't have much information of the discussions that took place in Mombasa. And that's the honest take. We don't have much information. But from the onset, we've had a broad-based government, and there was a project which the President and Honorable Raila Odinga were undertaking in the AU. I can only say maybe they were now looking into the issues of how that exercise went, doing what many people would say like a postmortem of the whole event.
Yep.
Like what took place, what transpired, why maybe we failed as a nation to succeed in getting the AUC seat, and the dynamics that surrounded the electioneering at the AU. So I cannot say way beyond that. I would assume that is part of what was discussed. And I have also listened to what Honorable Raila Odinga said about his future engagements, because he said he's available to the nation to serve, to help Kenya move to the next level.
You actually think the meeting in Mombasa was about a postmortem on what happened in AU?
They hadn't spoken after the AU. It could have been. I'm speculating.
Dinner in Addis.
Yes, but it was a big dinner with everybody. Everyone was there. So they could have discussed it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, you know, if they continue discussing about engagements at broad-based government, it's not going to be a new thing, because that conversation has been there. ODM has fronted four ministers to the government, 4 cabinet secretaries to government. And you know, of course, I have seen the advertisement of the PS position and the interviews. So many things could have been discussed at their level, because they're at the very top leadership level. But what I would say is that maybe the discussions are for common good. But the one thing I can say about the ODM and what my colleague here, Senator Onyonka, is saying, how people are feeling now, they are having a moment to eat. I'm not too sure about that, but I do know definitely. The one thing I can never fault the ODM for is when they have to ask for something, they go for it. That I can say. When they want things,
what does that something entail?
When they want positions, for instance, they go for them. They negotiate. They negotiate, and you can't fault them for that. It's a political formulation. They negotiate.
But by the way, Senator, do you hold any position in UDA now?
Right now?
Yeah.
Just being
I'm in the speakers panel. Yesterday, I was appointed elected as the vice chair, JLAC committee.
No, I'm asking in the party.
In the party, no. I'm a member. I'm an ordinary member and a nominated senator.
Okay.
And by the way, on that, let me say, I have a very interesting ideology on leadership. If you can lead people and they follow you, you must accept to be led.
No,
and in public office,
with that. I'm
also just saying, because you see the question you've asked me, it's a weighty question. It is not a question that stops there. It's a loaded question. Because you are asking, I was SG of UDA. Now I'm no longer SG of UDA. It went to Malala, and everybody knows how it went. And then it has moved on to Hassan Omar. Hassan. And that's why you are asking that loaded question, because that position moved away from me. I moved in to serve as nominated senator, speakers panel, and I'm now in JLAC and Energy Committee. And my philosophy on leadership, which is, I think, what we are missing sometimes. If you are holding a public position, it should not be entrenched for one individual alone. I'm always willing to say, if I can lead people and they follow me, I can also be led and I follow. And if I have no capacity to accept to be led, then I shouldn't have a capacity to lead people. Because when I lead people and I cannot accept to let another person to experience that leadership position, it means the day you want to remove me from that position, what will ensue from there is a very big fight.
Right.
Yes.
Not that you're on that point. Who asked you to step down from SG? Who asked you to step down from SG, UDA?
I discussed with the party top leadership.
Who asked you to step down?
Both the party leader and the deputy party leader.
Why?
From top leadership.
Why?
I had taken up new assignment at the Senate, and the party needed somebody who was on full time.
They were trying to be inclusive.
According to the vision of the party. And they wanted to be more inclusive, like Senator Onyonka was saying. Yeah. Not that I wasn't inclusive, but I left at the helm as one of the best SGs. And even in future, I would say maybe like my brother, Honorable Raila Odinga, I will be available to serve very competently at a very good position in a political party.
Okay, Senator, you know the president. You have dealt with him on several occasions. What is he talking about? A new momentum coming?
I would take him at his word. If he says a new moment is coming, I'll not put it beyond that. I will say, yes, there is possibility.
I mean, what does that momentum mean? What momentum do we need today?
I think if you ask me, the momentum we need for the people of Kenya is service delivery. And anything being formulated that does not then have service delivery to the people at its very core, people-centered momentum, that then drives the agenda that the government wanted to fulfill with the people, then that momentum may not be exactly what the people may be looking at. So for me, I would say that if the leadership positions that are being given are intended to drive the momentum of development, then yes, it is okay.
Do you think that?
If they don't improve service delivery, then they'll fall short. And Kenyans will be there to judge.
Senator, I'm trying to understand.
Because the challenge is, when you look at the politics around our nation and around the nations which are neighboring Kenya, you look at field leaderships like DRC, when leaders cannot have a proper conversation, yet they have influence over people. What eventually happens? If everything breaks down, Sam, you wouldn't wake up and come to this studio. If everything breaks down, you see DRC, the people in Goma are waking up and finding out, how can I get to Kampala or how can I get to Nairobi? Because of a failed nation state. We must never allow ourselves to go to that level. We are not in that situation. No. We are not facing that situation, but we must not allow aggravation of facts that can lead us towards that.
A position now that requires these broader-based conversations, and I say broader advisedly.
I would ask this, Sam, what did you read from the Genz riot on 25th of June? What did you read? What was your understanding of that crisis? Yeah?
You tell me.
Because when you look at what could have happened then you look at how else do we help the nation continue working in a more stable fashion so that we don't fall into a situation.
Senator, whatever Genz protest we're asking for, the solution is in ODM?
No.
No, not necessarily.
So, I mean, how does this offer the solution?
ODM is part of Kenya, okay? Are we together?
In the minority.
No, the court ruled they are coalition.
They are in the minority in parliament.
Is the majority.
They are minority in parliament.
Yeah.
That for me, I hold they are a minority. I was the SG of UDA.
Yeah.
We've always had the supermajority in terms of parliament. When you come to parliament formulation, the political parties, the coalition which has the majority remains the KK. But now, when you come to the broader question of politics, harmonizing, bringing people together, unifying the nation, that has been the rallying call of the president. And when we talk about unity, Sam, so that we don't misunderstand it, it is not a unity that leaves one region out. It is not a unity that leaves central region out. It's not a unity that leaves out the western or the Nyanza or the coast. Yeah. It's a unity that brings together 47 counties. So let me be very clear on that. So that anybody who's also trying to drive a narrative that let's have unity of this number against this number, that would also be the wrong formulation.
Okay.
In terms of bringing stabilized politics.
Stabilized politics.
Yeah. About this debate the very wrong way. Because you know, that election was contested.
So stolen.
It was contested at the highest court of this land. And a decision was rendered. And a decision was rendered. That's my very learned colleague want us to believe, or want Kenyans to believe, that Raila Odinga won that election when a petition was done to contest that election. It was heard fully, verification was done, scrutiny of vote was done, and the victory was handed over, not just by the Kenyans, but also by the Supreme Court. It was affirmed and confirmed
Madam Speaker,
by the Supreme Court.
Madam Speaker, what was the ruling the other day about who had the majority and why did that?
Yeah. And by the way, even a thought process along a referendum is not, should not be a strange creature. Why? The Constitution itself provides for it. The Constitution envisages a situation where when you begin implementing this 2010 Constitution, whatever gaps you find, you remember, even when this Constitution was voted in, it wasn't like 100% perfect, agreeable to everybody. So whatever gaps you find can always be cured through amendments or through referendums. So that we should stop discussing referendum as if it's a whip intended to punish one group vis-a-vis another group. Indeed, it should be seen as an opportunity to cure the many gaps that are within our Constitution. And our Constitution does have gaps. Let me say this. The way now it's being dangled, and the problem we are having as a nation, in my assessment, is that as soon as elections are over, people don't stop. They don't move away from the framework or the mindset of competition and elections. Because if we were to move away from the mindset of now the elections are over, we now start building the country, everybody would now today be shouting, actually, let's have a much bigger handshake. Let's have all the Kenyans, the interests of the Kenyans on the table. We start looking at what is it that is ailing this community, what is ailing this community, what is ailing that community. So you can achieve a genuine unification of a nation.
What would that
the problem we have right now...
Sorry, what would that handshake look like of all Kenyans?
A handshake of all Kenyans, where people agree that when it comes to development, we read from the start. Because some...
Isn't that why you have parliament?
Listen, Sam.
Especially national assembly.
Listen, Sam.
Yeah.
And these are the dissensions we have. It looks as though it is fashionable in Kenya to permanently oppose anything that is being done. And it's always like a culture that has been formulated that when government is in power and is working towards this direction, another wave of opposition, which never stopped from the point of elections, because some people walk past elections believing, I did not lose. I won, but my win was stolen. When you walk with that mindset, Sam, anything that is done after that election, when you don't bury and say, okay, now we are done, the disputes are done, we have gone a full cycle, let's move to the next phase, which is a phase of development. When we fail to do that, that's why you find so many anomalies
Let me
here.
ask you, Senator, whose work is it to develop the country?
Definitely the government that is in power holds the executive, holds the mandate.
Sorry. UDA, you won 145 seats in the national.
Yes.
Majority.
At the inception, and you can ask ODM how many they won at that point. Then you tell me just on the plain reading.
Just hold on, Senator. William Ruto formed a cabinet.
Yes.
You had the full mandate to govern this country, to develop it, to unite, to follow the Constitution. Why didn't you?
But you know, when you ask a very a question that is wide, that is, it's
okay,
like...
Let me narrow it down again.
You narrow it down.
You had majority in the National Assembly, in the Senate. At the National Assembly, it was declared you have majority.
Yes.
You had a cabinet.
Yes.
You had the right to appoint boards of parastatals.
Yes.
And you had the mandate to develop the country and follow the Constitution.
And the program began. It rolled out in earnest.
What was so difficult that you now need... Just hold on. Yeah. What was so difficult that you now need everyone else to forget they lost the election and come together and work together to develop the country?
Sam, let me ask you a question, because I'll answer it with a question.
Okay.
If you're developing that country, you need a budget. Do you not need a budget? You need a finance bill. Tell me, for a moment, forget your Nanka. and all you have is a country to govern, and you do not have a finance bill, okay? And you need a whole budget for a country to run. And you inherit a country whose factors, the debt burden of that country is at a certain level. Are you going to ignore all these factors and ask a blind question? Or are you going to ask a question within the context of which that country has been taken? In fact, one of the reasons why we won power as UDA or Kenya Kwanza was because the debt burden that was being created by the previous government had pushed us to such doldrums. Yes, and I know what he wants to say. I know what he wants to say. He wants to say that even Kenya Kwanza has borrowed.
No, but also the president was the deputy president.
Exactly,
yes,
for 10 years.
But was he actively involved in the governance during the second term? During the second term, Sam, to be fair, and this is where we miss it. We don't face the facts as they were. During the second term,
what you've done,
I can never stand with is any person who engages in corruption or any institution that accepts to engage in corruption to the detriment of Wananchi. So we are agreeing on one thing. Our systems may not be working straight. That I say yes. Let me ask, what solutions, after stating the problem so well, Senator Onyonka, what solutions are we offering to Kenyans as a leadership? How are we building our institutions, Sam? We are in Parliament right now. Can we escape the responsibility of doing everything possible to build those institutions back? Because, Sammy, one of the things I find very dangerous, for instance, is when we say, let's bring down a whole institution of Supreme Court and the judiciary. Instead of looking at what are the gaps in these institutions and how do we cure these gaps? Because if every institution that is entrusted, for instance, with corruption, dealing with issues of corruption, EACC, if you're talking about corruption, yes, there is a mega corruption. Then there is another level of corruption, which is being done by everybody here on the streets. Sammy.
Which one is that?
Traffic. Let me ask you, today, how much money can we unlock even from traffic offenses? Let me ask, as a nation, how much can
money by penalizing traffic
not
offenders?
Just traffic offenders.
No. I just want to
all the nations can do that. They do that a lot.
No, I just want
to this is what they do.
Yep.
Listen,
no, you're looking
let me
at
explain.
Fighting corruption from the
purging. I'm not even talking about the purging corruption from a traffic, just a traffic. I'm giving a simple example of where people are engaging in corruption. When we say courts are being bribed, police officers are being bribed, institutions, government officers who are working are being bribed. Who bribes these people? When tenders are being given by government, who is this who influences? Is government seated on that story alone? A public officer seated on that story alone of corruption? And therefore, I'm saying this. I'm only saying this to say we have a responsibility, first as leadership, to cure every gap and offer solutions to the institutions that we are saying are broken. Who will ever make this institution?
Some
are we waiting for other nationalities? Sam, you also give me the same time you have given Senator.
No, you have not taken all the time.
Speaking for longer than you.
You've spoken more than
no.